tag teams. AJ, you love tag team wrestling.
I do. There's so much great tag teams out there right now. I think we've had somewhat of a revival, no pun intended, on the actual rebuilding of tag teams. I think, quite frankly, the WWE still sucks when it comes to tag team wrestling, but the rest of the world is looking incredible.
I have one team from WWE that I put on my list, actually. And we'll talk about that later.
No, I'm intrigued to see. I'm starting off first here with Scott. We have got FTR, Santana and Ortiz, Tetsuya Naito, and Sonata, Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham, and the Briscoes. So a good top 5 there.
Now, Randy Oscar's friend sent us a list. Phil, a.k.a. Nightmare10 on Twitter. He's got the Lucha Bros, Young Bucks, FTR, Jurassic Express, and Pride and Powerful. Santana Ortiz, also known as Pride and Powerful, make the list here as well with the Lucha Bros. And that's an interesting list, though. If you look at that list, all AEW tag teams.
I mean, I know they're going to be coming up soon. I know they're on other lists, but I think it's interesting that thus far, I haven't seen the Young Bucks.
Oh, no, they were the second team mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear them on his list. Sorry.
But that's funny.
I know they weren't on Scott's. Sorry.
It's funny because if you look at top teams, too, I think you got to include the Young Bucks. They're like top current teams. But I kind of went my favorite, personally, just so I kind of make it a little different. And I got to tell you, I didn't put the Bucks on my list either. And I don't hate the Bucks, but they're just not like my favorite tag team. I don't know what it is.
I don't hate the Bucks either, but you're not going to find them on my list either. We've got Jake St. John. He is Mrs. St. John's second favorite baby boy. We've got the Young Bucks making his list number 1. FTR. We've got the Briscoe brothers. We've got John Moxley and Eddie Kingston because he says he loves their friendship, which is cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
The Lucha Brothers. And then because it is Jake St. John, we do have the Jake St. John rule in play here. And with an honorable mention, we've got MSK. He hates the name, but he loves the tag team.
I got Chuck Winchester's list. He's from the Buzz family. He's got RK Bro, New Day, Usos, Lucha Brothers, and Best Friend. Interesting about Chuck's list is a little more heavy WWE. I know he watches WWE, but just in keeping up with AEW, the 2 teams he picked were Lucha Brothers and Best Friends. So I thought that was
well, here's the interesting thing about the Best Friends is Best Friends 6 months ago would have made my list, but that was when it was Trent and Chuck. Trent is nowhere to be seen right now, and so therefore the Best Friends do not make my list.
Josh DeBoard sent us a list as well. He's got the Usos, RK Bro, MSK, AJ, and Omos, and Imperium.
Oh.
So Imperium I thought was a nice add to that list because, I don't know if they get the credit they deserve. They're technically sound.
Very technically sound, very good tag team, long-time NXT staple now, and NXT UK. Not on my list, but very good team.
I got John White here. He's got the Usos, Lucha Brothers, RK Bro, FTR, Finjuice, and an honorable mention to Men of the Year and the Good Brothers. Men of the Year.
They're growing on me.
I like them. I like Ethan Page.
I just don't think they've worked as a team enough to actually be on my top 5.
That's right. They've been more in angles, and they've been doing single stuff as well.
Let me tell you something. Once again, 6 months ago, I would have gone with the North. So
the North would definitely be. Yeah. 1,000%.
So I've got Mrs. St. John's favorite baby boy, Zach St. John, and he went with FTR, the Usos, the Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, and then he finally nailed the team that I'm going to get from NXT. He got the Grizzled Young Vets.
They're another great team out of Europe. Joe sent us a list himself here. He's got FTR, the Lucha Brothers, Young Bucks, Von Erichs out of GCW, Chris Dickinson, and Starboy Charlie. The Briscoes as an honorable mention. And then we also got a list from Joe's brother, Matt. He's got Lucha Brothers, Young Bucks, RK Bro, Private Party, and FTR. That might be the first list Private Party made on here.
Yeah, Private Party is an up-and-coming team. I think that they're not even getting enough play in AEW, quite frankly. Right now, I think that the worst thing that happened to them was being aligned with Matt Hardy. I think that they're getting buried in the shuffle, unfortunately, that they focus more on the other tag team, the Butcher and the Blade, that's with Matt Hardy, and I don't think Private Party is getting anywhere near enough play. Also, they are nowhere near as cool as Waves and Curls.
Shout out to Northeast Wrestling's favorite tag team.
I've got Randy Osgood. Now, I love Randy. You know, Randy's one of my biggest fans, and I appreciate that. 2.0.
Yep.
We've got John Moxley and Eddie Kingston, RK Bro, Finn Juice, The New Day, Los Parks, which is a great one. I love that one. Lucha Brothers, Santana Ortiz, and then he actually came back with a number 9. He had actually finished at 8 and came back with a number 9 and actually hit like Jake St. John with MSK.
So interesting on that list that he had, God, I'm blanking out now. Who was the first on his list?
2.0.
2.0, thank you. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I like 2.0.
I love 2.0. I think they're great.
And quite frankly, if we're looking for an old-fashioned tag team similar to the Revival, similar of that nature, 2.0, absolutely adore them, but they're not making my list.
No. I think CM Punk called them the Nasty Boys' little brothers last night.
Well, that's because of the vests.
Yeah.
I actually thought the same thing with the vest. I saw the vest and was like,
I thought
doing a tribute to the Nasty Boys.
Back. I said something to Scott. Yeah. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. What's going on here? They're growing on me big time.
They wrestle a lot better than the Nasty Boys, so I guess there's that.
Mike Flynn sends me a list. He's got the Bucks, RK Bro, Pride and Powerful, FTR, and MSK. Anybody surprising you that making a lot of lists so far?
No, not really.
I mean,
I'll be honest with you. If anything surprises me, it's Moxley and Kingston, just because I still don't think of them as a team.
No, it's funny. I'm surprised the Usos didn't make more lists. But
I'm a little surprised with the Usos, but in fairness, a lot of our listeners, a lot of our viewers are not necessarily the biggest WWE fans, and I respect the Usos. However, they didn't make my list either.
Well, so I was going to say, too, and you can throw the New Day made some people's list, too.
I can't stand the New Day.
Yeah, well, I think maybe, too, that maybe Usos and New Day suffer from the same thing. Part of it's our listeners, but also part of it, and maybe they don't have really good teams to feud with anymore.
Well, and that's just it. And when they do go out there, a lot of times they spend as much time now wrestling in singles as they do. If you go past the back the few months, you've seen more of the New Day wrestling singles matches versus people than you have anything else.
Agreed.
I've got Jesse from New Hampshire. Or if you prefer, New Hampshire. Either way, really. We'll go either way. We've got the Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, FTR making another list. It's going to be awful hard to beat them.
Yeah.
Here's one that we haven't seen a lot of yet. Jurassic Express.
Yeah, I think they made one of the lists so far.
Yeah. And then he's got the Usos.
Okay.
They're back.
They're back, baby.
The thing about the tag teams, like what we talked about at the beginning of this, is there's so many tag teams right now. Around the world, there's great tag teams. And I'm surprised we're getting as much consistent responses with similar names as we are, considering how many great tag teams there are. One that hasn't made anybody's list yet is the Good Brothers.
Good Brothers. I'm glad you brought that up. Because I got Albert Zvetis from the Rockin' Randy's wrestling crew, and he's got FTR, the Briscoes, the Good Brothers, and he's got Gorillas of Destiny and the Von Erichs rounding up his top 5.
Dude, love that the Von Erichs finally made a goddamn list. How can you not have the Von Erichs on any list? I was sitting here steaming. Yeah.
Good Brothers finally made a list too. You know, it's interesting. I feel like Young Bucks definitely have come back a little bit now as we start reading this more and more. We're hearing more of them. But man, as we go into the finals here, what have we been hearing most of? FTR,
Santana and Ortiz made a lot of lists.
Yeah,
the Briscoes started off strong, but they seem to have fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like the Bucks finally kind of came back a little bit.
Yeah, if anything, I think the Briscoes and the Bucks have somewhat evened up.
We have 2 more lists. You're next.
Yeah, well, my list is the Lucha Brothers. They did make my list. I've got the Grizzled Young Vets because I think that when it comes to just being a pure tag team, there's none any better out there, quite frankly. I've got the Von Erichs because they're friends of the show and they're also an awesome tag team. Anybody who's watched MLW and doesn't recognize what a great tag team they are, shame on you. Absolutely. And speaking of old school, I've got FTR on mine. What was that, my 4th one? And then my number 5, quite frankly, is the Briscoes. I've always been a fan of the Briscoes. I know some people don't politically like them or what they say and stuff like that, but they're heels, goddammit, and they're supposed to not say popular things. And I love them as a tag team. And quite frankly, they're the tag team that's been together maybe the longest active tag team on this list.
That's very possible. Oh, Ross and Marshall have been together since birth, but I get what you're saying.
In fairness, the Briscoes are also brothers, and I think they're a lot older than the
right.
Marshalls.
I was thinking, right. Yeah. And I think they're older, so yeah, they have been together. What the hell am I talking about?
I was ready for that one.
So, yeah, Ross and Marshall, I was saying, tremendous old school team. What I meant by that was they're old school Texas brawling type team. They remind me of their old school
They're different from FTR because their teamwork doesn't necessarily flow like the Midnight Express, but when it comes to just straight up old-fashioned Texas-style kick-your-ass brawl, they remind me of Brody and Hanson a little bit, but without the size.
I see that.
By the way, I think Tyler Peters had Brody and Hanson on his current tag team list also.
Shout out to Tyler Peters. All right, my final list to wrap us up will be, I got Ross and Marshall as well, former NWW Tag Champs, FTR. They're gonna make my list. I got the Usos. I think they're doing great things with Bloodline, with Roman Reigns.
I do like the Usos. It's not anything against them.
No, I know.
I just think right now for just wrestling as a pure tag team, that this is what you get.
They need more teams to compete with too.
Well, they don't have the teams to compete with. They basically have one other team to compete with.
Yeah.
And then they also had the year off where I believe it was Jimmy that was injured for a year. So it's been a while.
Jimmy's also the one who got a little trouble there too.
Yeah, Jimmy also got in trouble there, and then
that hasn't stopped them actually.
in fairness, main event Jey Uso did great as a single. So
funny sidebar too before I finish my list too. Last week when Brock was beating up the Usos in front of Roman, and Roman went to come down, he beat up Jimmy, gave him a suplex, and then he goes to suplex Jey, and you see Roman go, "Don't you touch Jey!" So it's like, that's my favorite. Don't you do that? They don't give a shit about Jimmy, but don't you touch Jey.
Don't you touch main event Jey Uso.
Yeah. Finishing up my last two teams, I got Mox and Kingston, because like Jey, I like their friendship. I think it's great. And I knew that AJ would really improve if he put a tag team on, because they're friends.
They're not a fucking tag team.
Shout out to Jey.
They're two singles wrestlers that are just wrestling together.
They did have a tag title match at one of the pay-per-views against the Bucks. And
okay,
I would say,
fine.
Mustache Mountain. I'm going to run the list. They're not teaming up all the time now.
I know they're not.
Right,
that's why I didn't count them.
But they did team up on this past week's episode or the week before recently. So they had one recently. So I was like, you know what?
I didn't want to take a spot away from teams that are working regularly because, and I'm with you. I love Mustache Mountain. I love the way they work. I love everything about them.
Well, hey, I'm the only one to put them down, so they had to get
I'm not going to disagree with you. I love the team.
All right, so I think we're going to have to go FTR and Bucks here. And I think maybe you round it up with the Briscoes for votes. It was close. It was Briscoes, Lucha, and Pride and Powerful.
See, I like the fact that you're sticking with format and you're sticking with who deserves to be in there. I think that's great. But I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote for the Von Erichs.
The Von Erichs, okay.
As the number 3 team.
Well, then they're getting booted anyway.
Yeah, they're going out first. Don't get me wrong.
All right.
However, I don't think it matters. Whoever the number 30 team is getting booted. So let's just go with the Von Erichs.
Let's tie. We're tied for number 3. They're both getting booted. The Briscoes and the Von Erichs, which would be a great match, by the way.
I would love to see that. You talk about a brawl.
Yeah, let's sign that.
Book that.
Now on this list, I think we're going to be biased here. I know we're going to be biased. The Young Bucks versus FTR. If you go by title credentials, obviously the Bucks have had a little more success in terms of AEW at least, and they never competed in WWE. FTR has held every title in WWE, and they've been AEW tag champs at this point.
They're also managed by Tully Blanchard.
I just think that, and you can argue that obviously the Bucks are in the main event angle and stuff like that, but I just think FTR.
Yeah, you can't really go by who's in the main event angle when one of the two teams is the VPs of the fucking company.
I'll say this too. If you go back to, and I don't know a lot of people talk about this, and I think this was the story. If you go back to when the Bucks were baby faces and they won the tag titles off of FTR, I can't remember which one, jumped off the rope and did attempted a Scorpio splash there, and like a 450, and he missed it. and the
I'll
Bucks
tell you.
caught.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't bald one.
So my point of this is, to me, that story was very telling because FTR and the Bucks were having this great back and forth match, and then the FTR does something out of their element, decide to go for a high flying, and it costs them. And I thought there was a big part of the story that was never really told. It was that one difference that ended up costing them the match. And by that, I'm just getting that FTR is such great storytellers. I think they put a lot of this together. I think when you look at the stuff they do, where they pay homage to the Midnight Express, the Hart Foundation, Demolition, Anderson and Tully, I don't know. To me, they're symbolic of what tag team wrestling is, and they're all around great guys for everything I've heard.
So here's the thing, and AEW, you know, I love AEW. I think that they're doing a great job of utilizing all their talent. They're doing a wonderful job. If there's any place where they've kind of slipped up a little bit, I think they could use FTR even more. So
yeah, I have no problem with that.
We are not impartial here. We are huge fans of that style of wrestling. We're huge fans of late 80s wrestling, and they bring us back there. And this isn't about what we love. We could easily make it about what we love, but I genuinely believe the best tag team in the world is FTR.
You can't escape. can't escape. You can't escape.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.
And don't forget about Vinnie Barry and Russellville.
Hey, all you goddamn wrestling fans out there, listen, Old Black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle Black Bart. It's got some dadgum good stories in there about some dadgum good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erichs, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harrison, Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.